Hi, everyone. I am Shue Cane. I am a mixed media and oil artist currently residing in the south of Germany near Stuttgart. And today is the 17th of November 2024. So I was always a very creative person since my early childhood. I really had a passion for creating all sorts of things, but mostly drawing and painting. I was born and raised in Germany, but my roots come from Serbia. My parents both come from ex-Yugoslavia, and so I believe I took a bit from both mentalities, the Serbian and the German one, which is a good combination, I guess. I've always wanted to become an artist. I really hated school apart from art classes and language classes. At the age of 21, I left Germany and went to live in Spain for almost 10 years, where I was working in fashion and music with my own labels. One constant part in all of my creative pursuits was always making art and graphic design. I actually got my first cracked Photoshop version when I was 14, and I'm self-taught in mostly everything I do up until today. And that seemed to work quite well for me, actually, because I didn't want to lose endless time studying at a university. I'm more the kind of person who likes to speed up things and dive right into the action and learn quicker by doing things practically instead of theoretically. Who are my biggest influences? There is so many. I'm not even sure in which way they influenced me. In the past, I was very much drawn to surrealist painters like Magritte and Dali, obviously Frida Kahlo. I love so many contemporary artists like Marco Grassi, Sophie T, Joram Rukes, James Jean, Picchiavo. The list could go on forever. Like, there is so many amazing artists out there that it's pretty hard to narrow them down into a shorter list. I do love bold art, and I could easily also reframe the question into what are my biggest, like, apart from who are my biggest influences, what are my biggest influences? I often see beauty in details that others don't even notice, so I can really appreciate many styles and tastes in various fields, not just art. I feel inspired and influenced by fashion, interior design, a colorful donut, a leaf that falls down from a tree, or even just a feeling or experience. So I'm not really seeing specific things in my art that have been influenced by something specific. It's just, I think, just my art really represents who I am, and that automatically involves everything that I like, that I see, that I appreciate, and somehow it's being transported into my own art. And so I think it's also something that maybe in a few years I'm going to be able to have a clearer answer to, because at the moment I'm still really experimenting a lot and figuring things out. And so I'm very open to see how my art evolves and where it's going to go. At the moment, I'm focusing on painting a series of mini paintings on loose canvas and on paper, which I would really love to add to my newly opened online shop. I love small art pieces, but they are really more challenging for me than the bigger formats. My process involves me feeling free and loose and really making bold and dynamic movements when painting. And so on smaller painting surfaces, I can't be all that dynamic. And but there is always valuable moments of joy in painting the small paintings. I really just love how just one small brushstroke placed in the right spot can tie a painting together. And that's especially for the small format paintings. Apart from this project, I am focusing on offering prints soon. I'm still figuring out all the details, like which paintings to turn into a print, which sizes to offer, but I really can't wait to have prints and make my art more approachable to a bigger audience. And so that's also happening pretty soon. What is the biggest challenge of being an artist? I think, looking on the inside, for me, the biggest challenge of being an artist is to be able to shut the outside voices and influences and really fully trust my own intuition. In today's times, we are so easily influenced every minute, every second of the day, which means that we actually have to take more time for ourselves where we silence all those influences and just hear our own voice inside. And by doing this, some of the other challenges like having confidence or growing confidence or showing up for myself and my art have gotten so much better. But taking that time for myself often gets forgotten. So I really, really have to plan these times into my days and treat them like appointments. Otherwise, it can easily happen that weeks pass by and I feel lost. And then I realize that it's just because I haven't been focusing enough on my inside world rather than the outside world. Then looking at the outside, for me, the biggest challenge of being an artist really is how many hats one has to wear. I think it's every artist's dream to just paint and create all the time, but the reality is really far from that. I find it super challenging to devote my time wisely to painting, creating content, posting, commenting, doing emails, researching new opportunities, website, online design, or just updating the online shop, paperwork, bureaucracy, networking, and oh my God, it never stops. The list goes on. And I guess it will take time to develop my own formula for what works best for me. It's really important to me to not feel stressed and overwhelmed all the time. And I think that it really depends on each person individually how to manage all the different tasks. I could imagine that for some people, it might just work to pick a certain day for specific tasks, like, I don't know, Monday every week you do taxes and paperwork. But for me, I've tried it, but this is not really working. So, yeah, but eventually it will be better, I'm sure, as we grow into these things with time and experience. And I'm just really still figuring out how to split time because there is just one of me, and so yeah, that's like the outside challenge of being an artist. The advice I would give my younger self would be don't overthink it. When I think back to my youth, my 20s, and even my 30s, I recall so many situations where I held myself back to do the things that felt right to me just because I was overthinking so much. Looking at it today, I realized that most of the overthinking was not real. I had created this whole story in my mind of what would happen, what could or would go right or wrong, and none of it was true. I just simply, it's happening in my mind. This is not to say that I'm not sometimes overthinking today. Still, this is happening, of course, but it has improved so much. There is a sense of freedom that comes with stopping overthinking, and it has truly been a life changer for me in my personal life, but also for my art. Just feeling more into the process of painting, feeling into the moment, and not trying to use the logical mind to justify a brushstroke or choosing a color. And it shows in my art, in my opinion. I can see a massive difference in the paintings since I learned to trust myself and let go and be in the moment when creating. It's like there is this invisible thread of joy and wisdom that is guiding me, and it's really kind of an addictive feeling to just let go and trust and just do and switch off the mind, and it's really, really beautiful. As for trying any unconventional mediums or techniques, I don't know if what I'm about to say counts in that category, but I have used sand, glitter, mosaics. I've collaged feathers and leaves and flowers to my paintings. I used to do screen printing when I had my own fashion label back in Spain. And I also used various baking tools for painting. And by the way, a toothbrush makes amazing splatter. So I really kind of use a lot of tools and things that, just find their way to me. And in the past, I also used to have a scroll saw that I loved dearly, and I cut out these amazing shapes from wood and then paint on them. This was so much fun. Very complex work, but so worth it for the end result. And I I actually do really miss my scroll saw. And at the moment, I cannot have it here in my place because it's just, there's not enough space, but I cannot wait to move into a bigger studio where I will get my scroll saw back again. Do I listen to music or have any other type of background noise while I work, or if I prefer complete silence? I have to say yes to all of the above. For my painting process, there is kind of a designated option for each stage. I actually just noticed this recently. So, for the first layers of the painting, which is my all time favorite part of the painting process, I put on my over ear headphones and I hit play on my Pumpin' House music playlist, which consists mostly of upbeat songs with that extra funky, groovy bass. I'm completely addicted to bass, and I don't even need vocals in a song if the bass is pumping right. And so that playlist, it kind of really beams me into the perfect mood for those wild layers in the beginning of a painting. And I splash so much color onto the canvas, no thinking, just doing. And I don't know, it's just such a liberating feeling. Honestly, I could start 1,000 paintings and never finish them. And I just want that feeling that I have when I'm free and wild starting a new painting. And for the middle stage of the painting, I really love to listen to podcasts and audiobooks. I'm in the zone and I need some concentration to focus on the painting, but I am also able to attentively listen to the podcast. So I kind of make most of my time. I really love reading books, like physically holding a book in my hands, but I don't do it too often because reading a book doesn't really let me do anything on the side. And that's why I'm so grateful that audiobooks exist. And for the final part of the painting, let's say the last 10 to 20%, it quite often happens that I do paint in silence, fully immersed in the painting process and adding those last important details that will turn the painting from a work in progress into a finished piece of art. And, in this detail stage where I am working in silence, I don't even notice the silence because I'm so focused on the details that I kind of forget everything around me, and so it seems that the silence does its job. The most memorable reaction to my art was in 2012. Back in the time I was still painting in my old style. I painted those girls with the big eyes. And I had a solo exhibition where I met a lovely woman who was so in love with the biggest piece of my show. It was a 100 by 100 centimeter painting. And she was standing in front of it for so long, but I didn't catch her, unfortunately, for a conversation that evening. So she found me on social media and kept commenting this painting from time to time. Several months later, I was decluttering my tiny studio and I picked some paintings that didn't sell and that I didn't love anymore in order to paint over them. And that big painting was among those chosen paintings to, be refurbished. On that same day that I took the decision for the painting to, be changed, this woman commented again on my post after a longer while. I had totally forgotten about her. So I contacted her and I offered to give her the painting as a gift because I just thought, she would be so happy and it would bring her so much joy and this would be kind of more meaningful than me just painting over it. And so she came to pick it up a few days later and she was crying so much. She just couldn't believe if I was serious about this. And so the last time I heard of her was a few weeks later when she sent me another very touching message to thank me again and to tell me that the painting saved her life. I never really got to know the specific details and I didn't ask at the time, but I will just forever cherish this moment in my heart because I would have never believed that something I created and that I didn't even think it was particularly good could mean the world to somebody else. And it's just, to me, it's just more than obvious that this painting was hers from the beginning. What do I hope people take away from my artwork? I welcome people to find in my paintings whatever they need at this moment in their life. I, of course, do hope that it brings them joy and happiness at first. The colors are very bold and positive and uplifting. And there's a lot of energy in my art that I hope does come across to the viewer. But beyond that, I really hope that they can find a piece of their heart and soul in my art. I hope they feel invited to see and acknowledge their reflection in it. What is driving me most in my life is to discover all parts of myself, the shadows and the light. And I am enjoying this life journey so much because the only reason we're here is to grow and to take all the lessons that are making our lives more beautiful from day to day. And so that really is the core of why I'm making art. And I want people to get more in touch with themselves and be open to love every side of them. And so I just think we don't hear this enough. But the most important relationships we will ever have is the one with ourselves. And so I do really hope that this is like the one of the takeaways that people will have looking at my artwork or even owning an artwork from me. So if you have listened to my interview to the very end and are still here, I want to thank you from the bottom of my heart. I know your time is very valuable and I'm grateful that you spend it listening to my story. If you want to find me online, please feel free to check out my website and online shop at shuecane.com, SHUECANE.com. And you can also find me on Instagram. My handle is shuecane.art. Dear Stan, this one is for you. I deeply appreciate this opportunity and the work you do. And I have become a subscriber now, and I have already listened to many of the other artists' interviews, and I'm enjoying the variety of artists that you have here. So thank you so much for this opportunity. Thank you for your patience. And goodbye, everyone. Have a nice day.